first M, which is millennials, okay? And we have heated debates at office because I'm the oldest person in my office, okay? I'm 38. So we have a lot of people who uh, stay quiet because I'm older and they won't say it in front of me, but I can tell that they have strong views about what I'm saying, right? So you work with people of all ages, right? So first of all, tell me a little bit about that because what you do and how do you see this whole Gen Z, millennial, Gen X divide?
Mm. So I've never really been into sort of figuring out for a very long time, बहुत अरसा पहले तक, we used to talk really bad about millennials till we figured oh, we're also millennials. So
Hmm.
I really never got into the definitions and to figure कौन किस category में fit होता है.
बिल्कुल.
But for sure, like because I work with a lot of students and fresh grads over the past 10 years, और वो obviously कुछ varying age के भी लोग होते थे, कुछ graduates भी होते थे and so on. So particularly in terms of एक internship program, training और internship program हम चलाते हैं. It's a very aggressive sort of internship program, which is more of like a boot camp to prepare you for
Okay.
the job or whatever you want to do in the future.
Hmm.
So उसमें I certainly used to feel like over every like 4, 5, 6 years, हर कुछ अरसे के बाद there was this shift in the kind of people, like there would be this characteristic about them that would set them apart, right? And initially I felt like maybe it was just, maybe I was just, it was people coming together and साथ में चल रहे थे और काम कर रहे थे, तो maybe they got it from each other,
Hmm.
whatever. But then I realized that the more time I've spent now, and it's very sort of, the changing characteristics are very evident, right? So for
Hmm.
example, um, अगर हम like if I look at my parents, तो उनके time में having this very safe job 9 to 5, that was a priority, having a safe job, and then the 9 to 5, a normal job was just sufficient. And then there was us, and for us, just a 9 to 5 job that doesn't get us recognition and, validation and, some sort of fame. It just wasn't enough. We had to be the best, the biggest, the largest, the first, whatever it is. And now when I'm speaking to a lot of the young people, particularly अभी हम कुछ roles के लिए hiring भी कर रहे थे, and I came across a lot of people who just graduated or have graduated in the past, like let's say 1 to 2 years. um, पहले जैसे हमारे केस में होता था, हमने बहुत फ्री काम किया है, अनपेड काम किया है, because we just wanted to learn, we wanted that growth, we wanted to get exposed to other people's work and processes and stuff. But अब तो बच्चे आते हैं, they're very straightforward in terms of मुझे इतने पैसे चाहिए और मैं ये करूंगा और मेरा ये टाइम होगा और मैं सिर्फ घर से काम करूंगा, and you know like
Right.
that, like they're very, I think they're very pragmatic that way. Like हम शायद नहीं थे, we were very idealistic and we wanted the best and falana dhamaका. But
Hmm.
so yeah, I think there certainly is a difference in the characteristics in terms of, now I don't know how you want to categorize them, Gen
But
Z and X. I think अभी कोई
yeah.
alpha भी आ गई है और पता नहीं.
हाँ, बहुत ज्यादा है, बहुत ज्यादा कैटेगरीज है. नहीं बट
Yeah.
मुझे ये बताएं सना कि ये जो चीज होती है, राइट, दिस थिंग अबाउट having, so one of the things I asked you is work life balance, right? We all know, and people of our generation who are working in MNCs and very gigantic corporate structures, we all know that work life balance is almost, to put it in a slightly better way, it's almost a tick mark that, companies like to ensure that, yeah, we are making sure that there is work life balance. So to do things like that, they will give you a day at the beach, or they will give you, so they'll try to compensate for, by celebrating some achievement with a project. At the end of it, there's some celebration, there's hanging out, there's relaxing, and there's unwinding, and there are common rooms where you can play table tennis and things, and that's good if for what purpose it serves. But I do think that over the years, a lot of us have realized that that is not enough, because we as human beings don't work like that. We don't work in these sporadic, 2 months I don't need to chill and then one day I can chill. We might need to chill at any point, right? And we might if have a family priority emergency situation at any point, and that is work life balance. So I feel like, work life balance is the buzzword is there. It's just, what do you think millennials are going to change by insisting on these things? I mean, if I'm not to put it into good and bad, but what are your thoughts on it? Like, to really, because this is a very important discussion, right? It's to them, they feel it has to do with mental well-being, and it has to do with, and it comes up in interviews, and older people laugh at them because they roll their eyes and they say, here's another one, right? So what are
Hmm.
your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, and over time, I think again, I feel like that is sort of already changing in terms of, having that boundary ke we were not very clear in terms of those boundaries. हम रात को 10 बजे भी कॉल आती थी तो हम उठा लेते थे. But that I think हमारे अंदर भी वो थोड़ी सी एक change है, not entirely, but over time I do feel that things have changed in the sense that everybody has sort of realized कि वो, like you said, कि it's not just going to be this one day when I, or once a year that I need that day off. I need it on a daily basis. So I think that entire appreciation for travel, if you notice, like everybody's
Yes,
talking about travel, everybody wants
absolutely.
to travel, and I think so. Like I said, अभी भी जो younger lot है, they're very clear कि 6 बजे और flexibility and इतने पैसे, and they're very clear about what they want from a job, but then also very clear that this is not the end of their life, which for us was really like अगर मुझसे कोई पूछता है आपकी hobby क्या है, and like I'm like अच्छा, what do you do in your spare time, and I'm like I don't know if I have spare time.
Yeah.
But that's certainly changing. Like that, it's a conversation that we very frequently have at home as well,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we feel like there's no end to. In our case, there was no end to sort of what we want to achieve, and every time we achieved it, there was also not the satisfaction that we thought there would be. And we
Right.
realized that the only times that we were really, really happy was when we were doing something other than work as well. And it's not really about whether we like the work we do. I think we love the work. I love the work that I do.
Hmm.
But I think these things will change in terms of, I think it's more of how I don't think हमें किसी ने उस तरह से बाउंड किया हुआ था. There was 9 to 5 job timings तब भी थे. हाँ अब ये हो
Hmm.
रहा है, for instance, कि there's a 4-day work week and stuff like that, which is being experimented
Right.
on.
Right.
But I think those changes are happening. People are taking time off and using it for themselves. The people are using the time after 5 o'clock not for work, and switching off their work hats and
And that's a
sort
good
of.
thing, right? That seems like the right way for life to be. And like you said, when you reach that goal, you'd realize that this wasn't it. I completely understand that feeling. And then you want more and you want more, and it just never ends, right? And until you end, basically, that's where it ends. And that is tragic, right? Like, to be in that delusional state for 4 years, for the best
Yeah,
of your years. But then
asking
there is,
ourselves like what is it that
yeah,
we want next, like अब क्या चाहिए, like ये हो गया, but
uh,
then why is there not that satisfaction, whether it's in
yeah.
terms of money or a title or something that you've been wanting to do or a passion project, but at the end of the day when it ends, it just ends, right? And then you're there, you have it, you've done it.
Hmm.
And so we've started to feel maybe our priorities were in the wrong place.
You
Work
grow,
is
right? you
important.
you change as a person, right? So every time you've achieved a milestone, you're probably a little smarter, a little more enlightened, a little more, you have more perspective, so then you want more, and that makes sense. But there's then these people who say that if you are not obsessed, right? What a lot of these podcasts and things refer to as obsessives, कि जो लोग बिल्कुल जुनूनी होते हैं अपने काम के बारे में, सिर्फ वो लोग उस काम में ट्रूली एक्सेल कर सकते हैं. और ये एक नोशन है, ये नोशन आई थिंक हमारे यहाँ कल्चरली भी है. अगर आप मल्टीटास्किंग, एंटी मल्टीटास्किंग बॉडीज देखें, तो बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि एक काम करो और बस ठीक से करो और बस उसमें लग जाओ और जान दे दो उसके लिए. तो वो भी एक साइड है, इस चीज की, which I think sometimes maybe Gen Z, and this, I could be wrong, but I teach a lot of university level kids, and I feel that maybe they might miss out entirely, on many of them might in this sort of search to preserve their sanity and their mental well-being and their equilibrium. They might never experience those highs and the limits to which they can go, that kind of thing. What do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I think again, I think it's a very difficult question to answer because again, in terms of when you say experience those highs, I think we've defined that that's a high for us,
That's true.
right? Again, saying ke obsess karenge to achieve karenge. Again, that's what we mean by when we say achieve is again what we've defined for ourselves as something
Very
of an
true.
achievement.
Hmm.
But it doesn't really have to be, right? I mean, I sometimes like I said, like our parents were okay with a 9 to 5 job. They didn't think about, they were not obsessing. They were good at their jobs. They were doing their job. They were, but then when they came home, they weren't thinking about what they're gonna go, and
Hmm.
do the next day at work,
Hmm.
or they weren't obsessing over the next promotion. And मिल भी जाती
Disruption.
थी. They were
Disruption. The
yeah,
right
I mean, they
disruption.
didn't have to do something, कोई बहुत out of the world, and that's I think a burden that we've put on ourselves. I don't know what exactly is responsible for it. I don't know whether it's social media, whether it's whatever, the startup and
Hmm.
entrepreneurial bubble, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's perfectly. I think it should just be a choice, right? I want to live a life where I'm hustling and going crazy about what I do, and I'm obsessing over my work. That's a choice I should be able to make. And then if
Hmm.
somebody doesn't feel that way, I think that's perfectly fine as well. Because at the end of the day, like we said, once we've achieved what we're obsessing over, we start obsessing over something else. So
That's
it's
very true.
it's a continuous sort of cycle, and I just feel it should be a choice, and I feel it's perfectly fine if somebody is not obsessing over their work or their next big career move or whatever it is.
I really
So
like that. I think maybe it's the fact that I am a Karachiite by like all of my life I've lived here. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here, and so I can only think in this, if there's no race, then what am I supposed to do with my life? Deep down, that's very, very there. As much as I act like it's not, it is, right? So I think this is the first time I've actually heard someone say this, that it's probably actually okay. You're not really winning anything anyway, but you should be enjoying what you're doing and you should be growing in it. Probably that is the lesson. If you were for a second one of those, say, 19 to 20-year-old kids, right, who are either here for an internship interview or for a job interview or are sitting in class, um, and you're burning to tell the older lot something, and by that I mean could be millennials, could be older people also, what would you tell them? Because I've heard them refer to this generation as that lost generation, not to reference no Star Trek world, whatever it is. But yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? So they're lost, they don't know where they're going, they don't have what it takes, they don't have grit, and that's thrown around a lot. And it's very sad because I've personally I've worked with kids who have a lot of grit. They are there 100% and they see things through. And so, I'm sure they have advice for older people. Nobody listens to them. But if you were to put on that hat, what would you advise?
so I have to give an advice to an older person as somebody from Gen X.
Yeah. No, it's Gen Z, like the very little lot.
Gen Z. Acha.
Yeah.
I think it would be to maybe loosen up a little. Like I feel like we're all very uptight and want to be right and know it all, and sort of like I think initially when all these people started coming up and saying, being very clear about, itne paise lenge falana dhamaaka, I was a little offended. I was like, what the hell? How can you be so, upfront about it? Like it's
Yeah.
very difficult for me to still talk about money.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, I think that would be my advice, to maybe just be more open to the people who are coming up now and their thoughts and ideas. And um, we were different from our adults, so it's okay if they're different from us.
Yeah. Hmm. That's interesting. So tell me a little bit about uh, your life and what you have done. Because, honestly, besides reading about you on, because you're a celebrity, I have read about you on, booklets and heard about
Ah,
you being,
yes,
podium
yes.
introductions and all of that. So, like one on one, if you were to, so, things that shaped you, or I mean, not the whole, obviously, LinkedIn profile, but, what really the chunky bits of it, and things that you do right now, and even what you want to do ahead, and how uh, culture has the word culture and workplace culture especially, what it means to you. And because I know that you feel passionately about culture as at the workplace, and I've seen and read and heard enough from you to know that we probably are all trying to fight this very uphill battle. And it's very tough in Pakistan because culture is not something that is a priority where there's a survival mindset. There's a lot of very serious problems and life-threatening ones. And so when you talk about culture, it becomes a bit of an elitist concern, not every man's concern. But with this growing mental health and rightly this mental health concern, people having so much anxiety and depression, I'm sure पहले भी होती थी, but अब हो गई है बहुत ज्यादा, और अब लोग उसके बारे में बात भी करते हैं, और बहुत सारा उसमें से कंट्रोल हो सकता है अगर लोगों की, जहाँ 75% उनका दिन गुजरता है विच इज देयर ऑफिस, अगर वो वहां पे खुश हों, तो ये खुश
Yeah.
हो या मतलब कंफर्टेबल हो, पीसफुल हो, थ्रेटेंड नहीं हो, डरे हुए नहीं हो, डिप्रेस नहीं हो, इंसल्टेड नहीं हो, उन सारी चीज़ों के बगैर भी इंसान काम कर सकता है शायद बेहतर. So
Yeah.
these are two questions, of course, but
Hmm.
hmm,
Okay, so about the first question, I think throughout my career, I've done really what initially always seemed to be like, not very connected stuff, like very different stuff that I was doing. So did my chartered accountancy, worked in an audit firm for 3 years, then came back to Pakistan and started Minerva. And then at Minerva, we've always been doing or experimenting with a lot of different things, whether it was trainings, whether it was so it was a lot of different things altogether. And I think it's a very recent sort of when I look back and I realize that everything that connected everything I did, even though it didn't seem connected, was just working with people to either help them build their own selves or build a community around a particular cause or theme or domain. And now even at the Hive, I feel like what I do is really for making a space for people where people can thrive and work and so on. So it's always been something to do with the the people business, now that I'm in executive search as well and all of that.
hmm,
Look at ND2C, that's exactly like I never had anything to do with design. I'm not a designer, even though a lot of people think that I may be, but I'm not really a designer. And the only thing was that it was, just about people, bringing people together, over something that wasn't being talked about as often as, thankfully it is now.
hmm,
So yeah, I think most of what I've done, whether it was workshops, whether it was personal branding, whether it was the conference, whether it's the Hive, it's really about bringing people together and helping them, be their best at whatever they want to do. So that's what, in like very briefly, is what I've been doing the past 10, 12 years now.
hmm.
And the next question was about culture.
Yeah, so
And
just to interrupt you, but the culture thing, when you said people, right? Do you meet people you work with who tell you that, who don't believe in what you do, who tell you that this is all fine, but what do you really do, or these are soft skills, and yeah, okay, we have an HR department, or something of that sort. Do you find that
all the
kind of
time,
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, that
yeah,
happens all the time.
what
Particularly
do you
jo,
say to them?
yeah, I think I've sort of accepted, like, I think the biggest challenge, uh, and I think it's with all generalists. Like we've been very used to talking about what is that one skill, what is that one thing that you do the best, right? Which has to be a technical skill.
Right.
But I'm a generalist. I'm probably not perfect at anything, but if you give me an entire project, I can probably be all the 10 people that you need on that project, right? I might not be able to do all those 10 things perfectly, but I can probably, I can probably write for you, design for you, whatever it is. It may not be a perfect job, but it'll be job done, right? So um, I think I've just sort of made my peace with the fact that I'm a generalist, and I think every organization needs generalists. It's not like it's difficult to sell yourself, certainly, because, like you said, people will ask, but what is that one thing
Hmm.
that you can
Yeah.
do? What do you really do, like you said?
Hmm.
Or particularly when it comes to, what I do as a personal branding strategist, that's also questioned. Like, why do you need, why does anybody need a personal branding
Hmm.
strategist? Like, why do I care about what people think of me and so on and so forth? But I think I've seen enough people's lives being changed through what I've done to not want to sort of bother about the few people who think that this is not important. Like for a very long time, I honestly thought, like when anybody would would come to me and say कि ये talk देनी है या यहाँ बात करनी है, um, I would really think like, who am I to really sort of tell somebody what to do? But I think there have been instances where I felt like something that might not feel or sound very, important or intellectual or deep to me
Hmm.
can sometimes change somebody's way of the way they do things or think about themselves or what they do in life.
Hmm.
And so I feel that's sufficient for me to continue doing what I'm doing, and
That's
it's
true.
okay if somebody doesn't. It's the right thing
So
to do.
you said a very interesting thing earlier, and it's not part of anything I had to ask you, but it is a very, very important thing. I'm probably going to add it there. This thing about money, right? The way our generation has been raised is to say that money comes from risk. Allah deta hai ek to.
Hmm.
It's deep rooted, right? This belief in all believers. Then there is this fact that we never want to come across as cheap, because asking about money immediately is not the civilized thing to do. Then there is this fact that it is a scary thing to talk about, because you're never taught how to really monetize, or how to actually evaluate your services, your skills. As in school you're never taught, in universities like art schools and things, they don't teach you okay, how are you going to price your time, or your effort, or your thinking time, or um, so this is something that I feel that Gen Z has a very strange solution for. Like they will, and maybe it's the travel thing, right? Like maybe it's the fact that they have these very simple goals, that they want to go to Turkey this year,
Yeah.
or they have to, or they have to buy a camera, that and that actually uh, compels them to get into this conversation very in a very straightforward way, and not worry about how somebody is looking at them and thinking, do you deserve this kind of money? um,
Yeah.
and that's really interesting, right? Like it's the same parents, often it's the same households, it's the same Pakistan. And how do you think this change happened? It's very fascinating to me that this has happened, and I actually try to learn from Gen Z for this, because wow, right? Like you can actually talk about money, you can actually demand money up front, you can price yourself high, not feel guilty about it. How does that happen, right? Like,
Yeah. I don't think I probably have the right answer to the question, but I think it's all about the narrative that has been around us. Like, we've these people are probably going to be like Gen Z is probably going to be, um, I don't know, have they seen a time without any sort of social media.
I don't think so.
Um, so I think maybe it's a narrative that they were exposed to, whether it's in terms of freelancing and the fact that they can have that independence, whether it was looking at other people and seeing that they were able to demand certain things. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff that you'd see online about जो बोल रहा है वो actually कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा, वो तो एक अलग
Yeah.
debate है. Everybody's talking about, do not work for free, so on and so forth. And I certainly appreciate that change and their ability to be able to do that. But and I think I still struggle with it, but I also sort of made my peace. Like money is not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay to talk
It's
about
not
money.
at
It's
all a
okay to
bad, not at all a bad thing. Yeah.
but I still sometimes, of course, struggle with talking about money. But I appreciate that. But I think what you mentioned is something interesting as well, which is that sense of entitlement, which, okay, it's good to be able to ask for money, but it's also good to be able to evaluate whether you deserve it,
Hmm.
right? Like, I feel like the entire narrative, which was that if you're really good at something, don't do it for free, but I think they've forgotten the first part of it. And they're very good at the second.
Very
So
true.
I also feel like there needs to be that balance. Like we were, again, I think I've just digressed, but I honestly don't have the
No, that's
right
fine.
answer to your question about what might have caused it. But all I can think of is that they've been exposed to this narrative of, like you said, work-life balance and traveling and all of that, and the entire conversation about knowing your rights and being able to ask for what you deserve and you deserve it and all that. I think हमारे time पे भी शायद इतनी ज़्यादा motivational talks और इस type की
Hmm.
platforms नहीं होते थे, so maybe we weren't exposed to that kind of thing as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think probably that. But you're right, it's
No, as
interesting how this
activism,
happened.
right? Rights, knowing your rights.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
there
So
before. It was there in newspapers and maybe on TV at some point at night, but now it's like in your hand all the time. You can protest about anything and people will support you because that's people, right? There, you have the world, somebody in the world will support you. So, you put it on Instagram, you make a hashtag out of it, and you'll find a following. So, if it's something that is universal and if it's hurting people, then they will band together. Um, and then there's things like Pakistani work culture. Three things that you think, in your experience, all the different people you've seen and worked with, what is distinctively Pakistani culture? And you can feel free to give us any insight, obscene or whatever, unethical, any of those,
mm,
without naming people. And then, toxic work culture, the fact that, when people try to show power dynamics. So if, how people would always try to put you down or put you in your place, so to speak, does that come from like a place of personal insecurity, or the fact that it was done to somebody, so they're going to do it when they're in power? So that kind of toxic culture. And then the fact that what is really the big hurdle or the lack of motivation for people to not work on culture. You go to them and you tell them to invest in fixing their culture, or like a culture audit, and they will flat out say that you can do it for free, but they're not going to be able to pay you because that's not in their budget. And that's something you would be very familiar with, right? Like, and then the fact that HR departments, that's something I really want to talk about because I find it ridiculous. Like, I have worked with lots and lots of different people, clients, companies, right? And it's been what, 15 years, and I know that I've seen a lot of Karachi's HR departments, right? Often it's a guy or a girl, usually it's a girl, and there's somebody sitting there who's got, hiring, firing under control. Any major sexual harassment, workplace harassment, would probably come to them, and I don't know how they would solve it, but they would try to solve it. And that is it. And that is not something that is changing very fast. And the kind of world we're living in, right? I mean, I would rather go and post my issue online than go to my HR department, and that would probably stand true for a lot of people working in Pakistan, right? So all of these things about culture, you know.
Those are all very
I know.
heavy questions.
I know.
Yeah, I do feel really, really strongly about culture, and I feel like, um, as much as it is important for an organization to find people that fit their culture, I think it's also important for people to consider what organization they're going into. Like, I think a lot of us are unhappy with the work that we do simply because there's a conflict of values. Like sometimes you have great work, but if your core values are being, you know, sort of, you'd have to compromise on them at every decision you make or everything you do, you'll probably stop sort of liking that and that place or the work that you're doing, and it'll be very exhausting. Um, I think in terms of why culture is not considered so important and why HR is just sort of restricted to, hiring and firing and, that kind of work, even now is, I was actually speaking to this friend a few days ago, actually, when we decided that we wanted to get into executive search, and I was getting everybody's opinions on it. And he said something which holds quite true, because he said, like, we have, as a nation, we have a very high threshold for pain, so we'd rather take the pain than solve the problem, right? So
Wow. That is like insightful and sad.
yeah, yeah, and that was a very interesting and very, actually, I felt it was so true. But I also think कि culture fix करने में there's a lot, it's very difficult to fix culture. Like, I think it's much easier to set the tone and set a culture than to fix a broken culture or a toxic culture. And it's a lot of work. It requires taking a lot of difficult decisions. So it's certainly not easy. And I think people are afraid of, what's going to happen and what are you going to change. And, you
Hmm.
know, like one question is, can you fix culture without having to change the people there, right? Because once somebody has gotten used to a particular culture, how do you get them out of it? Like, you have to do something, maybe you could use design to solve this problem, but I think it would be extremely difficult to have the same people different, other than, what
Hmm.
the way that they've been doing it for so long. I
True.
think the other challenge, and maybe why organizations are not so open to it, is because culture usually trickles from down from the top, right? So unless there's changes happening at that level, I don't know if you can make changes at the bottom of the organization. So
Very
at
true.
some point, it's going to trickle down. Um, and I think, lack of transparency, for example, um, is one thing that I've noticed in so many organizations and so many people, in terms in as part of the management. And I think that creates a lot of, when you don't know what's going to happen next, when you don't know, who might be saying what and doing what and what you've promised someone else, and that lack of transparency creates mistrust,
Hmm.
and mistrust makes people do a lot of things differently than they would do if they had known things, right? I think that's one very common factor that I've seen, or at least, of course, I've not worked at a lot of organizations, but I've worked with people, and from what I've heard from them, I think that's certainly one.
Hmm.
The other, I think, is, I mean, I don't think I can really say कि ये पूरे पाकिस्तान का मसला होगा या सब companies का मसला होगा. I'm really talking about the ones that I've interacted with.
Right.
Um, I think we talk a lot about inclusion. We talk about a lot about. We did a very interesting exercise with an organization. They wanted to, whenever somebody comes to us and says कि हमें women leadership के ऊपर काम करना है, we want more women in the organization to move up to leadership positions and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. And then they say we want a 1 week training to be able to do that. It's not really about that 1 week. You can't see results with a 1 week training. And so we did a very interesting exercise with an organization, figuring out where was the leadership pipeline broken,
Hmm.
right? it that you're not hiring, like of course अगर 100 लोगों में से 2 खवातीन हैं, तो the chances of, you know, the percentage of those your leaders being women is obviously going to be less anyway. So is it at the hiring level? Similarly, maybe I have 100 women in the organization, 100 men, but whoever's assessing their ability to become a leader, maybe it's that person who needs that training. It's not, it's always all leadership development training somehow are about training the women to become better leaders in an organization. I've noticed this so many times that organizations coming to us and saying, you know, Khawateen hai, they're very competent, they're doing great, and we want them to become leaders. Can you please train them to become leaders? But what happens when these competent women are being assessed by women or men, because biases hum sabke hain, who decide that they're not, you know, some man or male is better for that particular job. So maybe training unki required hai rather than those. So we did this entire exercise and we realized that there's such little things that could be done which would be interesting. For example, um, when the CEO goes on a smoke break, a lot of women either don't smoke or they don't openly smoke because of whatever culture we have and whatever is
बुरी
acceptable and
औरत,
whatever not.
बुरी औरत.
Huh,
Hmm.
huh. Who's woman? So,
Yeah.
so I think, you know, those men who go on a smoke break with the CEO have more exposure to that person. The person knows them better. They're more visible. So, regardless of whether they're more competent, they're certainly more visible when it comes to decision making about who should be the next COO or CEO or whatever it is, right? And so, maybe changing a smoke break to a coffee break could change that altogether, or to a tea break could change that altogether. And there, there's little, very little things, but it all has to start from the top and trickle down to the bottom. And I think कि वो जो top पे resistance है, um, that of course, I mean, without that change, it's going to be almost impossible for you to make any changes
That's true.
at the bottom. So we did this entire exercise and we figured out how very little changes were required. They did accept some of those changes. They didn't accept some of those changes. But I think we're one thing again that's very common right now is that we talk about inclusion, we talk about diversity, but we have no clue how we're going to do it. So we try and get more women to our team.
Hmm.
And like I think, I mean, I agree that's also positive because it's better than no women in the team.
That's true.
Um, so I think there's certainly that. What else would be a common characteristic of culture? I'm just thinking. I think it's not really a company culture, but I think वो जो एक आप कह लें, um, male entitlement है, वो तो है ही.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you'd call that company culture or just society or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but वो तो certainly है ही. And I actually just shared this one post today. Somebody had put it up. Okay, you know, just because there's one woman on the thread, email thread, doesn't mean that don't assume that she's the executive assistant. Have some other role as well. And I think that's something that I've very like recent in the past couple of years, I've faced too many times that if you're the only woman in the meeting, they'll somehow just assume that, you know, you're the one to take the notes. So
We can't get
I
that
think,
Hollywood secretary out of our minds, yeah,
yeah.
from the very, very many decades ago. But Sana, another thing that I thought of while you were speaking is it's not just the so that the smoke break, right? That's a great example. There's also the fact that a lot of women are working while they're also at the age at which they're becoming mothers, about to become mothers, have young children, have lots of dependent children, potentially in our culture also have dada dadi nani nana, somebody to take care of in a joint family, in a so and then not to ignore the fact that we have a very very demanding nightlife socially for women in Pakistan. So if a woman कोई medium तबके की औरत बैंक जा रही है उसको अपने बच्चों के नाश्ते से लेके और रात के दावत के खाने के एंड तक परफॉर्म करना है. So for women to be able to be more productive and perform, companies also have to start changing the way they make policies, right? And for that to happen, people have to start empathizing and understanding these patterns and these real life concerns that women have. I have found that so I've worked through having getting married, having kids, etc., and I found that I am so greedy about my time not being wasted. If anybody is wasting a minute of my time when I'm away from my children, and that is my ultimate sacrifice, right? Like if I'm not playing with, Lego blocks with my kid and I'm sitting with you, then you should not be wasting my time, right? And that, I mean, I'm ferocious. That's just instinct about, in any mother. And so
Mm.
if you've got women like that part of your team and you give them clear, to-dos and you give them clear objectives, there is no
Mm.
reason for them to perform less efficiently. They will probably be extremely efficient. So it is just that we don't have that climate. Like we don't even have the discussion. I have been told to my face so many times that we don't have a part-time policy. We don't have flexi hours. That's for modern chusha, small places. We don't do that. And either you go on maternity leave and then you come back and you figure it out. And I don't understand why we all pretend like we're so different from the other people. I mean, it happens to all of us. We all go through it. We all know parenting is demanding. We all know that women don't stop being productive. They think, they work, they it's just that we make things so difficult for women. It's like we go out of our way to make things difficult for them. We are not open to conversations about these things. And obviously I'm generalizing when I say we, or there are, I mean, I've had very good luck and I've had, I'm grateful for all opportunities I've had, but I also know that very few people get those, right? And that is a leadership problem. It is the fact that when more women are leaders, that they will solve these problems because they will empathize and they will create
Mm.
systems that enable more women to come in. So I think it is also the fact that, like you're saying, there's a lot of talk around it, but to actually trust somebody and to take that step and to say, hell with policy, this girl looks like she wants to work, and she can't be here physically. And COVID has been a great demonstration of that. You really know merit
Yeah.
when such things hit. But
I
yeah.
agree. I think it's a very, very difficult debate as well because we're assuming that organizations have a heart, right? At the end of the day, they're all like we're putting that responsibility on them to make that change when everything for them is working perfectly fine,
That's
like, right? Like it's working for them in terms of the money that they're earning or the profits they're making, which is the bottom line, which is the most important thing for them, which is
but
why they're there.
but that's where I'm interrupting you, right? So why is it there's this very interesting I think it's a TED talk, and it's about the fact that this bottom line thing and GDP is a metric we've picked up, and we've decided that we want to align our lives, the whole world's lives, to. But if there are other metrics in the world today, like the happiness index, or gender, various kinds of gender, and it's a matter of us making those, right? It is a matter of us picking up indicators that are there in our environment and then creating those indexes and then awarding people and acknowledging and appreciating the ones that not only have a great bottom line but also perform well on that index. I know it is extremely idealistic, but it also, see, in the long run, what sustainability का जो इतना धूम है, in the long run it is going to pay off, right? It is going to pay off if you've got efficient workers who are speaking well of you, who are not dying of heart attacks because you stress them out so much, that who are not talking to their therapist about you. That's a good thing, right? You want to be that company, right? So culture should be built into your profit and loss statements. Why is it something that's left out, right?
No, of course it should be. I completely agree. There's no, I think, two ways about it. But I'm just putting out the the fact that at
And
this point it's not, right? And so um, I just think I think it's also like in particularly or there are a lot of other things, but particularly in terms of working from home and flexible hours and all of that. I think there's a lot that needs to be changed before this can become acceptable as a whole. Like, I think a lot of companies, even after this entire COVID episode where people weren't coming to offices, they were actually companies that forced their employees to come to work.
yeah.
I came across a lot of people that were looking for better opportunities or had to resign simply because they just couldn't afford to go to work and then come back to their parents or whoever was living at home and
Mm,
risk them. Um, so I think a lot needs to change. So हमारे यहाँ the entire performance evaluation system is the clocking in and clocking out, right? 9 बजे आए और 5 बजे गए या नहीं गए. That's our for most organizations that's the entire performance management,
it
right? So it's very difficult for them unless you have that entire system where you can decide that you're, you know, um, result based आपकी performance management हो rather than amount of hours that you're putting into work. Like this entire overtime, falana dhamaka, all of
is.
this is based on the fact that there's a certain number of hours that you have to fill. Anything less than that, you get a pay cut. Anything more than that, you get paid overtime.
Mm,
So there's this entire mechanism that has to be in place for this to be effective. You have to have a plan. You need to know what you want to achieve. You need to have clear to-dos. You need to have clear objectives on a daily basis to be able to say कि हाँ अब आप कहीं भी बैठ के काम कर लें and I don't care.
mm,
So I think that, but there's also another perspective. I don't know how relevant this is to our conversation right now, but there's this another perspective that the entire work from home situation also didn't work out for a lot of women. Like the just the fact that they had the flexibility to be at home was a nightmare for them, because then अभी आपकी expectations हैं कि 5 बजे आएगी तो वो ये करेगी, लेकिन उसके बाद आपकी expectations हैं कि 9 से 5 के बीच में भी कुछ हो सकता है इसमें से और काम निकलवाया जा सकता है.
इस पूरी चीज का
तो
सीक्रेट बताऊं क्या है कि बच्चे घर पे हैं सबके. एक्चुअली ये मसला है. बच्चे स्कूल में हो और औरत घर पे हो तो काम हो जाता. इट इज द फैक्ट दैट
हाँ,
शी इज हैविंग टू ऑनलाइन जूम
course.
क्लास मैनेज
हाँ,
एवरीथिंग. ऑफ कोर्स.
that's certainly extremely difficult. I have a lot of respect for the women who were able to, like, because COVID में the मासी भी नहीं आ रही थी और मियाँ
या
भी
या
घर पे था और बच्चे भी घर पे थे, तो खाना भी दिन में 10 दफा खा रहे थे और there was all of that happening.
ऑल द
But I also,
नाइटमेयर्स टुगेदर. या.
yeah, I think a very different perspective that actually someone else spoke about it and I'd forgotten who it was, but was the fact that for a lot of women, staying at home, like work is their safe space. They have abusive homes
दैट्स ट्रू.
and work is their only sort of escape from that abuse for those 8 hours. So I think there's a lot that will have to be fixed. And I hope, like you said, it's us being idealists saying that we hope for companies that would care about more than just their bottom line. But at the end of the day, I think at this point, ये एक challenge है. And then I also think, like, sometimes it really makes me angry, particularly खवातीन पे भी बहुत गुस्सा आता है. जैसे हम ND2C के लिए, when we're looking for women to speak at the conference, um, one, they're not visible enough, right? So they're not vocal enough, they're not visible enough, whether it's in terms of how frequently they visit other events and so on and so forth. It's
राइट.
difficult to identify women. But I see this debate so often कि अब तो बहुत ज़्यादा बात होती है ना कि why are so many men on the panel and why not females and so on. But if you really look at it, and I'm a woman and I can tell you how much we struggle with it, like you would reach out to a woman who's doing amazing work, but she just doesn't want to be on stage, right? So she'll either talk about, no, I'm not good enough, or नहीं मेरे पास time नहीं है, या मैं नहीं कर सकती. And I think that I'm assuming that it comes from that lack of confidence that I can be on stage. We're just generally, I don't think we've been conditioned to be in the spotlight and haven't learned how to take a simple compliment as well. I think that's sometimes really, really annoying, but it's also this entire debate. I feel sometimes I really feel sorry for the conference organizers as well, because they have to then add in fillers just because, there needs to be a female on the panel. But I
Mm,
think all of these are realities, and I think we're headed in the right direction. I think some changes have taken place. I
mm,
think, at least with the fact that we're talking about it, the fact that, we have that opportunity to have flexible hours, you have it, I have it. I think that in itself would probably not have been possible maybe, 10 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
So I think things are changing, and
Mm.
hopefully they will, but there's certainly a long way to go. And
Mm. It's the imposter syndrome thing, right? Like the maybe teaching it, maybe education can actually solve for it, because a lot of concepts can be introduced earlier to children, right? And they can be told that, this is something that's going to hit you when you start achieving things, because you're going to always feel that you're not good enough, and so that's something that can specifically be looked into from that angle. So I've taken up a lot of your time, and I'm just gonna just for the future of what the discussion we were having, right? Just one thing, which is, do you think that when the young generation today refuse to join large corporations because of these cultural, like workplace culture barriers, or things that they're actually protesting about, right? Do you think that what's that going to lead to? Because a lot of children now prefer to work as personal brands. They are, and by children I mean, starting at age even 10 and going up to obviously 25, I would say, 22, maybe 21. So they have this very strong vision, clear vision about themselves as personal brands, right? Not having a boss, not having to follow orders. And learning gets compromised in that. I feel that's one thing. I feel that a lot of the things I learned were those which I learned by doing what I didn't want to do.
yeah.
And that is necessary, I feel. And I feel like this generation is not getting that, because they design their own, they curate their professional steps to, in their career. So what's going to happen? Because will we have, say, a whole generation of people who are just personal brands, and is that also an economy? And or and will this giant corporation situation just not hire smart enlightened people anymore? So I know it's like a loaded question, but what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think the entire decentralization wala concept, remote teams wala concept, I think it's become widely acceptable to, like, there's still, like I said, there's still organizations that are going back to the normal, being at work situation, and still want somebody on the team, to be on site and so on and so forth. But I think that switch is certainly happening. Uh, More and more people, when we interview them for jobs or reach out to them for jobs, they're very clear कि remote होगी तो हम करेंगे, वरना हम नहीं करेंगे.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that switch will certainly happen, but I don't think as humans we can live in isolation. And like you said, there's so much that they're going to miss on in terms of learning, in terms of, building that culture. I don't know, maybe we'll come up with tools that can, like, I know there are a lot of team building online activities
Mm,
happening, but I'm not sure
yeah,
how effective they are. Of
yeah.
course, they're close to what it's like to be with somebody in the same room.
Mm,
Um, if I have to brainstorm, I would at least still want people to be sitting, in the same room.
yeah.
There's this energy that comes from it, that take energy from each other. So I don't think we'll completely go into isolation and everybody working from their home or in pods. And
Mm,
um, I do think that um, decentralization will happen. I think it's already happening. People are already accepting it. Um, but I think that the entire flexible, like more flexible, agile model will certainly come up. I don't think the monolith organization can survive too long for sure. But at the same time, I don't think we can completely go to a remote situation and not meet with each other and not have that team there, because that would be so like boring and dull. I can't imagine a life where I'm not going to work at all. Even though I've worked remotely for most of my career.
Yeah.
But then there are days when I really crave that, I go to work just not because I have to, but just because I want to be with my colleagues and,
Yeah.
even gossip is fun on Zoom. So,
Yeah.
so I don't think we can completely replace physical interaction. Um, like when this entire COVID thing happened, we obviously were extremely scared about, like, at the Hive, space is what we offer, right?
Right.
So if people no longer needed space, then what were we going to do? And it was this very short but very scary period. And then we realized that, there was this new type of clientele that was coming, which was these large organizations that realized that they didn't need like this entire building to host their people. They just needed like a 20, 30 logon ki jagah where people would just rotate. And whoever wanted to work from home, but then somebody wanted to work from the office. So I think there will be more of that kind of flexibility. But I don't think it's going to be a complete remote situation. I just actually hope it's not that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.